Mike Detillier, WWL Radio, TV New Orleans, Saints, LSU, NFL. He joins us on the Farm Bureau Insurance Guest Line. It's brought to you by Sound and Communications, your next video wall for your school, university, business, lobby, hospital. SoundcomAV.com, your next video wall for your business or school, arena, football stadium, conference. SoundcomAV.com. Mike D on the show. Mike D, news broke late last week. You had mentioned it a couple weeks ago. People thought that this was going to happen. Aaron Rodgers is now going with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I want your thoughts. Is there enough juice left in the tank? Do they have enough around him? They pick up DK Metcalf in the offseason. George Pickens goes to the Cowboys. Mike Tomlin and them haven't really done a lot post Roethlisberger. We know all about that, post Peyton and Breeze. What do you make of Aaron to the Steelers, Mike D?
Defensively, they're going to be a tough football team. Now, the Aaron Rodgers I saw early in the year last year, he still seemed to be struggling with the Achilles. But down the stretch, Aaron Rodgers threw the football well. And so he gives them an opportunity to be a playoff team. Really does. And you add DK Metcalf to the bunch. So big question mark is, for me, is how quickly can that offensive line that's been rebuilt get pieced together? Because that's not a unit that as a group has played a lot of games together. And that's the unit to watch. Aaron can still play. And Metcalf's a good player. And, man, they got one of the really good tight ends in pro football. So I think they got a shot here as a playoff team, no question about it. And from what I saw late last year, he still looks like he's got some gas left in the football tank. Is it a 25, 26-year-old Rodgers? No. But, again, in a conference that's got a lot of really good quarterbacks, they can sort of match up now with Aaron Rodgers. I didn't feel that way with Russell Wilson.
Ooh, you just hit on something, Mike D. Is that the best division with QBs? With Burrow, Lamar, Aaron, I don't know what the hell the Browns are going to do, but that's three pretty damn good ones. Now, I guess.
And then you got West, you got Mahomes, Herbert, and Knicks.
Yes, with the Broncos and Peyton. Okay. Which one would you take?
That's pretty strong. That's pretty strong. That is a strong one. Oh, well, listen, anytime Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson are in one division, you got to go there.
Dang.
Those two guys, for what they can do, even though they're two totally different players, you got to go that route.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think the Ravens defensively have been as good the last 2 years as we've seen them in the past. And Cincinnati isn't good. Plain.
Mike D on the Out of Bounds show. Mike, all things being equal, who would you take? Joe Burrow or Lamar Jackson?
Depending on what football team I had around me.
Okay.
I think that would be a big part of it. I'm kind of swayed because of the fact that
sure.
I saw what he did at LSU, but I would take Joe Burrow. I think, he's been there. He's been to the ultimate game. Was not able to win it against the Rams, but certainly I would go with Joe. Lamar's a tremendous football player. I mean, he's one of the elites, and he puts so much pressure on you as a defensive coordinator. if you're going up against him. Well, Burrow would keep me up at night too, but so would Lamar. But for different reasons. In that Lamar could pull that ball down and take off, and you got issues. And so when you look at the two divisions, the two players that probably would give me more problems as a coordinator would be Baltimore, because Lamar has become such a good passer throughout the years and his running skills. And in the NFC, Jaden Daniels. There's a lot of people, I make the comment a lot, I don't like to see drifters at quarterback, guys that sort of drift around. They get sacked a lot. People say, well, you like Jaden Daniels. When Jaden Daniels drifts in the pocket, he's not drifting to throw it. He's drifting to run with it. And you better put on your track shoes if you're going to catch him. So those two guys present huge problems because of how well they throw the football, but their just innate running skills. It's at another level compared to anyone else.
Man, that I hadn't thought about that. Now that Aaron Rodgers is in that division, you got Lamar, who's awesome, Aaron Rodgers, who may still have another year left to sling it around and hurt people's feelings, and then Joe Burrow, who's incredible. Who knows what the Browns will do? Sorry, NFL Chuck, who listens to the show. But Mike Detillier on the Out of Bounds Show, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. And then, like he mentioned, AFC West, you got Mahomes, Justin Herbert. And now we're going to get to see, what Bo Nix kind of becomes the next 2 to 3 years under Sean. This is going to be fascinating.
They're built differently. They're built much differently than the Saints.
Yeah.
And when I say that, meaning their defense is a better defense than what Sean had early on with the Saints. Mm-hmm. Their pressure defense, their front seven, and their secondary is better than what Sean had early on with the Saints. And there's no question about it. And then, you add, Barron to the bunch from Texas, who's a little bit of a hybrid player. That he's a guy that can play both corner, free safety, in the nickel. And, we had Brandon Staley on with us. And one of the things Brandon said, and it was true, and it was really a Sean Payton invention, to put your best receiver in the slot on third down. Now, it took forever for teams to match up against that, but during Super Bowl week, Marcus Colston came on with us. And I was bringing it up to him, and he said, I've never played anything more than the wide receiver when I was at Hofstra. Never played any other position. So when I come with the Saints, Sean's talking about putting me in the slot. And he said, well, I thought this was for a small receiver. He's like, no, the spot's for you. And it was amazing. Jeff Duncan and I were talking about this the other day. Jeff wrote the book on it. And Jeff was like, Mike, people don't realize that was the first time in the NFL that a coach put his best receiver in the slot on third down. And it took years for teams to adjust to it. Now, Brandon Staley's with the Saints today, and he was like, on third down, Alontae Taylor is going to play the slot corner. When you look at it, he says, okay, you got these $28 to $30 million receivers playing in the slot, being covered by $5 million guys? No, I want my best cover guy. It goes to show the little subtlety that has happened in the NFL, where you see the Justin Jeffersons, Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb, those type players, they're shoved in the slot on third down. And they're going up sometimes against the team's number 3 corner. Well, teams got to adjust to that, and they got to put their top corner in the slot to match up against those top receivers.
Man, Mark, the Colston thing was unreal. What was he, Mike? Like a undrafted free agent or seventh round pick?
Seventh round pick, kind of a throwaway pick. First time we saw him in the OTAs, it was like, man, why did they pick him? He didn't look good. He really didn't. He struggled. He seemed to be a bit heavy. He seemed to be also a little bit confused on what route that he had to run. And you get it, small college, the route tree's different. And he was a little heavy. Now, once they went to training camp in Mississippi, he was a different player. He looked the part, and he was really good. But the early OTAs, he did not look the part at all. And so we kind of went through it in Super Bowl week that, I'd only played one position. I'd only ran maybe 2 or 3 routes in my entire life.
Wow.
And, Coach Payton is throwing this out at me, at rapid fire pace. And he said, I didn't pick it up right away. But he said finally, through some reps and through a lot of film study, he was able to pick it up. And like you said, by the time training camp hit, he was ready to roll.
Unreal. All right.
But we didn't see him in the slot. See, that was something Coach Payton saved for the regular season. When we were watching, he never lined up in the slot position. And then as the regular season hit, Sean had moved Marcus over on obvious third down slot positions. He put him in that spot. So he had already made a little chess maneuver.
Wow.
With Colston. Once he got his confidence up, then he was able to put him in the slot, and the rest is history.
Yeah, but not everybody stays. I mean, many, many, many times in the NFL, as you know, Mike D, if you can't get it done early, especially if you're a 7th round pick, they'll just, you get cut and they send you to the house. Sean obviously had the foresight to believe that he could get it and turn the corner, Mike D.
When you ask this to Coach Payton, he always laughed and said, I didn't have no players. I was forced to do it. Now, that's partially true, but I think Sean sort of knew that Colston could fit that bill. But remember, they're coming off of just a couple win seasons. They were a nomad team. This was the year after COVID, in which they had played in San Antonio and Baton Rouge. That was a lot of comings and goings on that football team, and they had 28 new players on that team from the year before. That's a heavy turnover in the National Football League. But you were going to do it Peyton's way, or you were going to be out the door. And I've always told him this. It was the best coaching job he ever did. Better than the 2009 season when they won the Super Bowl title. Better than the 2011 season, which I thought was maybe his most talented team, and ended on a crazy game out in San Francisco. But I thought 2006, he squeezed every bit of vitamin C out of the orange that year. That was a really well-coached team, and they started to believe in one another real quickly that they could get this done. They were one game away from Super Bowl Sunday. They lost in the NFC Championship game to the Bears.
Golly. Went up to Chicago and lost to Rex Grossman and Urlacher.
Yep.
Damn nations. That's crazy. Soldier Field. Mike Detillier, WWL Radio TV New Orleans. He joins us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. What is Marquise Colston doing now, Mike D?
He's out in the Northeast. He's involved with a number of businesses. He sold his home. He had a home not far from me in the Destrehan area, and he ended up selling it. And so he's back up in the Northeast. And like I said, he's involved in a number of businesses and still the same guy. I mean, really quiet. Now, once you get him started, then he'll talk a little bit, but he's a very quiet guy and just does not like the limelight. Never did. Never did with the Saints. Never did, in the business world today. I had to go up to him to ask him to come on with us on WWL. He was there for promoting some event, but he was great about, yeah, I'll do it. And, he's like, hey, how you guys made out for the storm and all? I was like, yeah, okay. Why are you walking crooked? I said, because I got a bad knee.
Well, we got to know Pierre Thomas a few years ago, and I know you know him. Talking about an outstanding young man. Really enjoyed being around him. We had him on the show a couple of times. Have you talked to him in the last few years, Mike D?
Yeah, sure have. I made the mistake. I asked him, because I got to talk to Kevin Falk, a former LSU player who played with Tom Brady and the Patriots. And I didn't think anybody ran the screen pass as good as what the Patriots did, with Kevin. And then the Saints did it really well with Pierre. Kevin gives you kind of the Reader's Digest version of how they do it. Pierre, when he starts, you in Encyclopedia Britannica. Man, you go get the long version with Pierre. But, man, always a colorful guy, gave you everything he had, was a vision runner. That's what I would call it. His eyes always up. He had tremendous peripheral vision to have people miss out in the open field. And he was a hard charger. But he caught that screen pass as well as anybody in the game over the last 25 years. Only Kevin Falk could match him as far as a receiver coming out of the backfield. But, yeah, he's intriguing guy. And, matter of fact, riding a parade every year in Metairie and Mad Hatters, and he is going to be the Mad Hatter for the parade this coming year in Metairie. Finally decided to do it. They tried to get him a couple different times, and he had scheduling conflicts, but he's going to do it this year.
Okay, that's super cool. Yeah, I love that. He was really, he did a charity event here, and could not have been nicer. Wendy, my wife, doesn't really care about athletes and coaches and all that stuff, but she went to the event. She didn't even know who he was, which I thought was even better. I walked away, I think, to the bar to get a drink, and she talked to him for 15 minutes, and she said, that's one of the nicest young men I've ever been around. I thought that was pretty cool, Mike D.
Yeah, and you think about how he got here. They had picked Pittman, the running back from Ohio State, in the 4th round. Pierre was an undrafted free agent.
Okay.
The second day, we watched him practice, and it was Abear. He turns to me, he's like, who the hell's the draft choice and who's the free agent? Man, this Pittman, he can't play. And I'm like, yeah, I kind of figured that out. But we wondered, because you see, this is early on with Coach Payton, and we've seen it with others. They'll keep a draft choice before they'll keep that undrafted free agent. And Sean it was an easy decision. He knew what he had with Pierre Thomas. He knew what he had with him, and he was able to keep him in. It kind of went through the string. They had Chris Ivory, also undrafted free agent.
Good player.
Robinson also. All good players that they didn't draft at all. So, but Pierre was so good. Short yardage game, but also he was a master of how to set up a screenplay to make it not look as though it's a screen, and it ended up being that way.
Yeah, he and Drew and Sean drawing it up and teaching it, but He and Drew were filthy when it came to that. That's super cool.
Oh, no question.
All right, Mike D. LSU, baby, in the CWS. Is the state buzzing a little bit?
It's buzzing. Yeah, I'll tell you, Skip Burtman line. Skip wins 5 college championships in baseball. And Skip comes on with us, and he's like, how many people want Jay Johnson fired? I said, more than you would think. He was like, many times I've been fired by the fans. You'd have to hear Skip say it. Because Skip was, he really was the Bear Bryant of college baseball in the South.
Yeah.
As much as Coach Ron Polk was great at Mississippi State, Skip was like a quote machine. Anything that came out of his yap, was a quote machine. And he forced, along with Polk, they forced everybody else to up their game in the SEC. And now, everybody's spending tons of money on college baseball. Jay Johnson is a different personality. We have him on weekly. He's glib. He'll tell you what's on his mind. He's not a storyteller like Skip, but there ain't many like him that can tell a story. But I think, man, to catch Arkansas right off the bat,
dang,
that's a tough catch.
Man,
because if you were to ask me today, who looks the best of all the teams, it would be Arkansas.
Agree.
The combination of their pitching and their timely hitting, they look to be the best team, that's in the College World Series. But it's an interesting draw, Saturday afternoon, and to have LSU, Arkansas.
I know. Two really good teams. I agree with you on the Razorbacks. Mike D, that was a ton of fun. And man, Marquise Colston, what a player. And Pierre. Sean just could do it. I mean, he just elevated so many people on the offensive side of the football. Mike D, have a great week, my man. Thank you, buddy.
Thanks so much. And I'm interested to see this year with Sean, Evan Ingram, who is a good chip piece, and how they use him, and you can bank it, he's going to be a slot guy.
No doubt about it. He's a problem when used the right way, whether it was Hugh Freeze or I guess the Jags finally figured it out a little bit, but Sean will get it. Thanks, Mike D. Brought to you by Sound and Communications. If you need a video wall for your school, university, business, lobby, conference center, conference room, your next video wall, call Sound and Communications today. SoundComAV.com.